Welcome to another episode of The Dissection. The ANC is saying that it can only find 100,000 out of a 2 million rand donation from the VBS Mutual Bank. Only 100,000. Only. Remember what the allegation was. Chifiwa Matodzi, the chairperson of VBS Bank, in an affidavit that he gave to the National Prosecution Authority as part of his plea for a lesser sentence, stated that he gave the Treasurer General of the ANC, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, at the time, an amount of money because a donation had been requested. And according to Matodzi, 2 million rand was paid to the ANC through an intermediary known as Joseph Nkadimeng. So there may be some questions around whether or not Matodzi is telling the truth, and those are valid questions. Did he lie? He is somebody who has committed a fraud of over 2 billion, or orchestrated and was the mastermind of a fraud of over 2 billion rands. And such people are dishonest. They're willing to say whatever it takes to, avoid the consequences of their actions. And part of what he was saying here in this plea deal was any information that he thought would reduce the sentence. It may be true, but also he has a very, very selfish motive in trying to reduce the amount of, consequences that he faces and to be out of prison in the maximum time available. And he may actually be out in a shorter space of time than you anticipate because his sentences are running concurrently, right? And he may even be eligible for parole at a certain point in those sentences, right? So the ANC has said publicly that it will repay any monies that they got from VBS. That's the right thing to do. That's the right thing to say. But now it appears that they only want to pay back 100,000. Would that be a fair repayment, in your opinion, considering that the ANC was so central to this scandal happening? One of the greatest tragedies of the reporting on the VBS scandal is that it has focused extensively on the EFF, a party which right now occupies 10% of close to 10% of the National Assembly, a party which has 1.5 million votes, a party which is not the biggest party in South Africa right now. The ANC is the biggest party. The ANC is the party that is central to a lot of this scandal being possible or even happening. Let's recap the role of the ANC in this scandal. The ANC is in charge of all of the municipalities in the Limpopo province, okay, most of them, right? I think the DA has got one. If you look at the ANC support in Limpopo, if you're looking at the local government, not the local government, the national elections, provincial legislation, 78% in 2014, 75.4% in 2019, and 73.3% in 2024. Local government elections have had similar trends. If the ANC is occupying that level of support in the province, it is logical to conclude that anything that happened in the municipalities of Limpopo relating to VBS is directly attributable to the party that was leading those municipalities. What are those particular municipality activities that happened? The municipalities breached regulations. They invested their grant funding in VBS, despite a National Treasury directive stating that such deposits were not allowed under the Municipal Finance Management Act, the MFMA, right? This investment represented a breach of regulations as VBS had actually focused on getting those municipal deposits, which made up 75% of its total deposits. 75% of the total deposits of the money that VBS had came from municipalities. Municipalities were not supposed to deposit the money in VBS. It was against the law. They unlawfully made those deposits in any case, right? Total of 15 municipalities were affected, with the Vembe district municipality having the largest exposure because they had about 311 million in deposits in VBS, about 1/3 of its annual revenue. Most of the impacted municipalities were rural and they were located in Limpopo, Northwest, some in Gauteng. But if you think about what we just discussed. 75% of the deposits came from municipalities. All of the municipalities that deposited money in VBS were ANC municipalities. They knew that it was against the law. So that's something that we need to discuss. That's something that requires more focus. We also know that particular people in the ANC and who are occupying senior leadership positions in the ANC, Denim Caesar, for example, Florence Radzilani, they're accused of having received millions of rands as part of this fraud. It's implausible that they kept the money all for themselves. Typically, the way corruption works is that if you're at the top and you get some of the money, you have to trickle that money down. You have to get that money to other people. Think about Kabelo Matsepe, who was an ANC Youth League leader at a particular time in Limpopo province. He's accused of having received 35.4 million in bank loans for his roles in getting municipalities to make deposits in VBS. One individual, 35.4 million, he would have had to pay other people, right? For instance, other information from the Motau report on VBS suggests that 700,500 was paid for the hiring of buses to transport ANC members from Limpopo to the ANC elective conference held in 2017 at Nasrec. 700,000 from VBS for the Limpopo delegation to go to Nasrec, the famous Nasrec that, CR17, you know that Nasrec, that one, where a lot of Limpopo people voted for Cyril Ramaphosa. So the point that I'm trying to make is that there was a big involvement by the ANC, right? We already know that millions were received by individuals in the ANC. We already know that an allegation was made of 2 million being asked for donations, and this is being coming from the affidavit. We already know that 700,000 was identified by the forensic investigation, saying that this was money used for buses. So what's the ANC saying about the money? The ANC Treasurer General, current ANC Treasurer General, Dr. Gwen Ramogopa, told Sunday World that a probe by the party into the 2 million donation allegations found the organization only had records of 100,000 from VBS. And she said that the party is unable to trace any amounts of money from VBS to the ANC except for the 100,000. The implication there is that they only want to pay the 100,000. So these are direct quotes. This is what she said. We have investigated internally through our accounts, and indeed, we're in the process of engaging the VBS administrator to look into how we can pay back that, which is a decision which we have taken. And the amount that we could identify is 100,000 for one of the dinners. If there is anything else, we will also depend on the capacity of the state to prioritize issues and to also do investigations. But certainly, we do not investigate ourselves. We present ourselves to the Integrity Commission, which guides us. Sometimes fraudulent documents were presented to make such claims. Actions have always been taken when such fraudulent activity was discovered. This is what she was saying. And she's saying that, hey, we can only see 100,000. And then she spoke about that, Dr. Zweli Mkhize had actually shared a statement with her and Fikile Mbalula. And basically he repeated what he had said in his public statement. And he denied the allegations, right, that he had advised municipalities and the PIC to invest in VBS. What Zweli Mkhize's statement says, I can confirm that I was once invited to the VBS offices where they introduced themselves and their business to me without seeking a single favor from me. I did not have any other engagement with them thereafter. It can also be verified with the Office of the ANC Treasurer General if they ever participated in any of the ANC fundraising events. Those activities are formal and public. Such monies are properly recorded and disclosed to the ANC leadership. If any other funds were exchanged with VBS in the name of the ANC while I was the Treasurer General of the organization, I'm quite keen for this to be disclosed in full so we can expose such scams publicly. When I occupied the office of the Treasurer General, I became aware of instances where the name of the ruling party of the office of the Treasurer General was used by the former chairperson of the VBS, Chifiwa Matodzi. Claims the ANC received 2 million from the bank and individuals to serve their interests. So this is what Zweli Mkhize has says, that he doesn't know anything about this money, and everything that he took can be accounted for to the party, right? So the ANC has said that, the way forward for them is that leaders who are facing allegations for their involvement in the alleged donation will present themselves to the Integrity Commission. That's it, right? And then the Treasurer General, current Treasurer General, said that these incidents were a call for leaders to be above reproach and rise to the occasion to restore the general populace's trust in politics. Here are my thoughts about this whole thing. Number one, the ANC needs to pay back the 2 million and recover it internally from the party leaders and the members who are alleged to have benefited. Those members can pay fines, whatever it is, for the ANC to get its money back. But I think the ANC needs to pay back all of the money that has been mentioned. Matodzi said 2 million. We already know from the Motao report that there's another 700,000. Let's say pay 5 million back to VBS. Pay 5 million. Because the monies that were taken are significant. And the ANC municipalities deposited those monies against the law, unlawfully, worked in cahoots with Matodzi and other masterminds who were involved in this. Pay back 5 million. Let's say, pay that back. It's not a good look. This is my second point. It's not a good look to offer to pay back 100,000 when you have billionaire donors like Patrice Motsepe donating to the party, billionaire entities and companies benefiting a lot. Like there's that manganese company that is partly owned by the Russians, partly owned by some other ANC senior leaders through some investment vehicles, which sometimes donates to the ANC. You've got billionaires making billions, billionaire leaders. 100,000 rands, that's what you want to pay back for this massive scandal. Cyril Ramaphosa is a billionaire. Patrice Motsepe is a billionaire. Pay back 5 million, 10 million. Show that you are as remorseful as everyone is about this scandal, because this is supposed to be the biggest scandal that affected grandmothers, children, rural municipalities. Your party is implicated. You are supposed to be the leaders of society, right? My third point is this. I think more leaders in the ANC really know what happened with VBS than they let on. Right now, it's almost as if the only people who knew was Willem Kize, Denim Caesar, Razilani, Matsepe, and a few others. But it's unlikely when you consider the scale of the scandal, the amount of bribes that were being given left, right, and center. 2 billion rands doesn't just disappear without people knowing. Nobody eats the way that people were eating in Limpopo province without people being aware that no, money is being chowed here. It's implausible that only 5 or 6 or 10 people knew. I also want to say, Brian Shivambu, who is one of the people who's accused of having benefited from the VBS, he has paid back millions that he got in loans from the VBS. He's paid back millions. How can the ANC, the leader of society, the party which is currently holding 40% of the national popular vote, the party that is leading the coalition of the DA and the ANC and several others guests, how can that party, the party that is the leading entity in Limpopo province, say that they only want to pay back 100,000 rands? I don't think that's appropriate. How can you be beat by Brian Shivambu? I think also, my fifth point, the ANC needs to be held more accountable by the media for its role in this scandal. It's almost as if the ANC gets a pass because people are used to corruption in the party. That's what it looks like to me sometimes, that people don't care because, we know that the ANC, they chow the money. I think that shouldn't be. If we all care about the scandal and it's a serious scandal, there shouldn't be a pass because we know that one of the entities mentioned, is a repeat offender. Or, like in school, they used to have the noisemakers and then there were frequent noisemakers. Simply because you're a consistent noisemaker in class doesn't mean that the noise that you make is still not disruptive and unlawful and against the rules. You can't have lighter punishments for the most frequent noisemaker. The punishment has to be the same. Number 6, I also think that, the ANC has said that it works for the poor. the marginalized. It says that it stands for the values of Oliver Tambo, Nelson Mandela, values of integrity and honesty. It says that it upholds the Freedom Charter, strives for the Freedom Charter, that, Chris Hani is still their guiding light, right? I think that if that's what they say they stand by, should they not be held to the same standard as the EFF, or even to a higher standard? When the EFF gets criticized for Malema buying Louis Vuitton or whatever those shoes are called, it's because they say, no, but these guys said that they are socialists, they are Marxists, they are Leninists, and because they say that they are fighting for the poor, they are representing the poor, they're wearing overalls and they're wearing maids' uniforms, so as such they must be held to this high standard, even if we can see that there are inconsistencies, but that's what they said. So what about those who say that they stand for Mandela, for Biko, for Chris Hani? What about those who say that they are the custodians of the Freedom Charter? Should they not be held to a higher standard? What about the fact that they are the ones leading the province, the country? Does that not create a higher threshold of accountability? I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? 100,000 out of all of the monies that people within the ANC benefited from VBS, out of all the monies that the party itself, whether directly or indirectly, got, 100,000. I don't know, that seems like little. I think ANC maybe should pay 10 million, 20. Just say, we want to wipe ourselves clean of this thing. Here's 20 million to VBS. We are going to take accountability. We're going to hold people in our own organization accountable for what they did. But in the meantime, for the grannies, for the sake of the bank, all of the things that happened, we apologize. Here's Nhlawulo. Here's our damages payment. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's have a conversation. Till the next one.